Hi, my name is Matt Armstrong, and welcome to Core Infrastructure Development, a Skill at VA workshop brought to you by Germanna Community College in partnership with Fred Exchange. So when we talk about core infrastructure development, and for those of you who aren't technologists or coders or IT specialists, I just want to apologize in advance. This is one of those titles that probably makes you run for the hills. But at the end of the day, when we talk about core infrastructure development, what we're not talking about are roads, bridges, buildings, things that service physical infrastructure. We're talking about those critical IT or information technology components that support your business processes. And so I want you to think in terms of, well, Matt, dude, I'm making gourmet peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, bro, and I just have no time to deal with that. And if you're a owner of a coffee shop and you're like, man, I wake up at 5, I roast coffee beans, I make lattes all day, none of that stuff applies to me. I want you to just be patient with me and explore this idea of how information technology can really augment and transform your business. So what is IT infrastructure? Well, IT infrastructure consists of all components that somehow play a role in overall IT and IT-enabled operations, and it can be used for internal business operations or developing customer IT or business solutions. So the components of IT infrastructure include hardware, software, networks, and users. What we mean by hardware is really the physical components such as the computers, the wiring, the routers, anything that's physically related to the IT infrastructure. When we talk about software, we're talking about the programs or the operating systems that are accessed by the users and utilized in operations of the particular organization. A network is basically just two computers that are connected and that serve the organization. And when we talk about users, it's really anybody with access to the IT infrastructure through the network. So when you're considering the development of your IT infrastructure, just know that there are different types of networks that you can use for really servicing your organization. If you're a small business, then a local area network that exists within a building would probably work, or really even a home area network if you're just working out of your home. If you're a larger business, then there may be a wide area network that over a particular geographic setting or region. And then there's different components that go into networks, such as the topology, the geometric formation of the network, and the protocol, the way that the different components of the network communicate that make up the network. And ultimately, working, if you are a non-technical person, working with a network architect to help you to design the network so that it suits the needs of your organization. So now that we understand what IT infrastructure is from the hardware, software, network, and user standpoint, and really know a little bit more about networks and how to build a network to your needs, I want to talk about something that has really transformed the way that businesses operate from an information technology perspective, and it's the cloud. And I really want to kind of demystify what the cloud is. Ultimately, the cloud is the internet. It's just a metaphor for the internet, and it provides a way to access resources on demand and to scale those resources without really bogging down the IT infrastructure or increasing costs over the long term of the infrastructure. So when we're talking about cloud computing, we're really talking about kind of two things. We're talking about software as a service, where software as a service can be a service that is utilized or accessed by thousands of customers, and it really drives down the cost of that particular service for the end user. From an entrepreneur's perspective, where cost constraints are very high and uncertainty is very high, leveraging software as a service tools to help manage your business is critical. So when I'm talking software as a service, I think a great example is QuickBooks for your accounting software, MailChimp for email marketing campaigns, SurveyMonkey for creating and administering surveys, Salesforce for managing your Salesforce, Google Apps for managing kind of your documents and managing how team members collaborate, and things like that. The second component is utility computing. And utility computing really is the storage and accessing virtual servers and the IT infrastructure for your computing needs. So really, software as a service and utility computing really make up the cloud and the cloud infrastructure that businesses utilize to kind of streamline their core infrastructure development process. All right, so as an overview of core infrastructure development, let's just flip that around. It's really the development of your core infrastructure. And when we talk about the core, we're talking about the necessary components of creating an IT infrastructure that supports your business operations. And when we're speaking about the lean startup process, we're really talking about the simplest infrastructure or the simplest mechanism that helps you to get from point A to point B. So the goal in this is not to overcomplicate the process. Like I said before, if you're a non-technical founder, go to a technical meetup. Maybe it's a group of developers, maybe it's system architectures, and make friends with somebody that knows a lot about this particular area. And just ask questions. And at the end of the day, maybe all you need is an internet connection, the ability to send and receive emails, and the ability to fax and print stuff, and that makes up your IT infrastructure. If you're developing a web product or an application, the infrastructure that services that may be much more extensive. If you're a startup entrepreneur and you're trying to minimize the costs of running your business, there are software as a service platforms that can really help you doing that, many of which offer a freemium pricing level for lower engagement customers. But at the end of the day, IT infrastructure should support the business and help it create a strategic advantage and help it sustain its operations over the long term, scaling with the business as needed.